And in 1995, I was in a psychiatric institution with major anxiety disorder, panic disorder, PTSD, and depression. So welcome to the conference. I'm so happy you're here.
And so I don't mean to be flip, I really don't, but it's my story and I'm not ashamed, I'm not embarrassed. It's why I'm here with you today.
I am Tammy West, and that is my story. Welcome to Consider Yourself Hugged, a place to find comfort and support as you navigate your mental and emotional well-being. So sit back and relax, unless you're driving, and get ready for this week's hug. Welcome, my fellow hug seekers. I hope that your April is starting really well. I mean, it's April. Well, I don't know when you're going to be listening or watching this, but right now, while I'm recording, it is April. I missed April Fool's Day. That was yesterday. While I'm recording, it's April 2nd. I actually had other interviews and some things to post, but I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you, like based on what I do, that I had no idea that April is National Stress Awareness Month. Woohoo! I mean, if you know me and you follow me, you know I don't love the word stress. I believe it's very disempowering. It relates to my entire study. But it is Stress Awareness Month, and so I put everything else off. And for the next 4 episodes, we are going to address stress-related issues. And honestly, I've been sitting in my office all morning waiting to, well, I had a couple of meetings and so I've been trying to plan. And I thought, well, it's a no-brainer. This is my topic. This is what I do. But I've been doing this podcast for 3 years, I think for 3 years. And I feel like I've talked about every single element of stress that there is, my study, why the word is disempowering, how the world gives us this message that if we're not stressed out, we're not valued. I can, in fact, in the show notes, I'll put links to every episode that specifically address stress. I mean, there are things that I've talked about over the years that are different topics where then I put the stress spin on it. So this morning, well, let me back up. I was walking Charlie this morning because literally I was like, yeah, well, I'll just talk about stress. And so I'm walking Charlie and I thought, well, let me go ahead and Google the latest stress research. Oh, darn, sorry, backing up again. I don't think I shared this with you all, but okay, so back up again, like a week ago, I did post it on Facebook. I try to stay up to date on the latest research. Okay, really fast. There's an AI app called Web Search, and when you do it, it'll give you like citations. And so I Googled I don't know, I didn't Google, but I put in the latest stress research and I got all the things you would normally expect. So then I was like, well, that's not what I want to know. So then I put social construction of stress because that's more in line with what I talk about. But I still only got like work stress. And so I said, no, that's not what I want to talk about either. So I put the discursive construction of stress. And so it gives me all these points and it puts a footnote like number 1, but it only had one footnote. So it would put the first point and the number 1 at the end and the second point and the number 1 at the end, and then when I scroll down to look at what the citation was, guess what? It was mine. It was my study. And I thought, are you kidding me? Like I am the only person who's talking about the discursive construction of stress. And if you're new to me or you haven't heard my stress stuff, that is basically, don't let the term freak you out. It's just basically the fact that the way that we speak creates, and I'm air quoting if you're not watching and listening, creates stress in our lives. And when I say that out loud, it sounds so like judgy. It sounds like I'm saying to you, oh, it's your fault if you're stressed out. You know, you're creating it by the way you talk, and that is absolutely not what it is. Okay, so that happened, and I'll put a screenshot of that in the show notes because I was so happy that like my paper was a citation. And that's the first time that I have just randomly come across it. Now, this morning, I was taking Charlie for a walk And I thought, okay, let me look again. Latest stress research. And the Stress in America 2023 report came across my Google search. Well, that is a report that the APA does every year. It's called Stress in America. They do it every year. I'm going to put a copy. It used to come out like as a PDF report, but I couldn't find that. But I will put a link to the details of the report in the show notes so you can go and look at it. Although I'm going to be doing a little bit of reading to you today. So sit back, friends, and be ready to be read to in just a minute. It really struck me. It just struck me hard. So I'll put that in the show notes, but I want to read a bit of that to you in a minute. I'm also going to put in the show notes a PDF file of the questions, and I'm going to come back to that as well. The other thing that came across my Google search was the National Stress Awareness Month from the National Institutes of Health. I'm going to put a link from that as well. But I want to start here and walk you through a little bit so that hopefully I don't know, I feel so scattered about the whole thing, but I want to stay current and I want you to feel my heart in all of this. And so, okay, so the National Institutes of Health, I'm not really going to read much here, but it starts with April is recognized as National Stress Awareness Month to bring attention to the negative impact of stress. Managing stress is an essential component of a healthy lifestyle. Knowing how to manage stress can improve mental and physical well-being, as well as minimize exacerbation of health-related issues. All right, so I'll put a link for all of this. But here's something that stood out to me. It has a link to, so it says Mental Health American. The Mental Health American provides some tips on how to reduce your stress by utilizing a stress screener. So I click on the stress screener and there are 16 questions. Okay, don't get bored with me. If you're with me, actually, I'm going to share my screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am going to share my screen. But if you're just listening, I mean, this will go quickly. There are only 16 questions, and I'm not going to say all of the choices, but I am going to tell you what I said. I've already taken it once. You don't have to put your email in. I mean, you can if you want to, but it just gives you like an analysis. Okay, question 1. Do you find yourself eating emotionally? Or eating unhealthy foods, or eating when you're not hungry as a response to stress or difficult feelings? And I clicked, I admit I've binged on the occasional Haagen-Dazs, but it's not a regular occurrence. Question 2, do you find yourself sweating excessively when you're not exercising? So I said, no, I'm not a big sweater. Next question, number 3, do you ever have trouble sleeping? At this point in my life, I'm going to say rarely, or no, sometimes I'll have trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or getting quality sleep. Question 4, are you experiencing any digestive problems like indigestion, irritable bowel, or ulcers? No. Number 5, are you suffering from burnout, anxiety disorders, or depression? That one's really hard to answer for me. In full honesty, if I've told you before that I went back to the doctor in 2022, I think 2022. So even though we were technically out of the pandemic, no, actually we weren't. Okay, we'll come back to that. And I was really struggling. And so I went back on medication for my anxiety. So technically I'm being treated, but I'm not suffering. So I'm going to say no. Question 6, are you taking care of yourself? I'm saying yes, I take good care of my body and soul. I'm not perfect, but that's the best choice for me. Number 7, do you have a supportive social network and make time for relationships in your life? I'm going to say yes. My friends and family help a lot with stress. It's the best option. Again, these questions don't give you a lot of, there's only usually 3 answers. Number 8, are you getting regular exercise? I'm going to say yes. I lead an active lifestyle and exercise at least 3 times a week. Number 9, do you find yourself smoking or drinking? to excess is a way to deal with stress, and that's a no. I don't smoke. I really don't drink. Number 10, do you find yourself with tension headaches? I'm saying no, I've had them before, but not often. Number 11, are you having trouble maintaining a healthy weight? Are you carrying excessive abdominal fat? That one was hard too because I've gained 10 pounds and I'm having trouble losing. But no, I'm within 10 pounds of my ideal weight. Seems to be right. Number 12, are you easily irritated lately? I'm going to say no, I'm pretty even tempered. Next question. Have you missed work? How often have you missed work in the last year due to actual illness? So the lowest it gives is maybe once. I'm like, okay, I'll say that. Number 14, do you feel fatigued? Do you often feel fatigued at the end of the day? So I'm saying not too much. I'm ready for sleep at night, but I do have energy in the evenings. I don't know if I'd call it energy, but that's best response. Number 15, do you have a feeling that stress may be affecting your health? Not really. I'm just taking this test for fun. I'm actually taking it for research. And I thought there were 16 questions, but I guess there's just 15. Hmm, that's strange. Okay. So I hit submit. Now, if you're listening, you can't read this. I'm about to tell you, but if you're watching, you can see what it says. I answered the lowest that you could on almost all of those questions, right? I try to eat healthy, I sleep, I have supportive relationships, but it still said you could be doing better. You may be experiencing a degree of stress related health. While you may not be having serious health consequences yet, it's important to lead a healthy lifestyle that includes minimal stress, as stress over time can lead to more serious problems. The below resources explain how stress affects your health and provide more information on how to stay healthy. It kind of it kind of upset me because here I answered very in a healthy way to most of these, but the response I got back is you could still be experiencing stress related health consequences. I'm like, what does that even mean? That's where my frustration comes in, is that what does stress even mean? Now, let's go back to the Stress in America 2023 report. Well, wait, one more thing. So I encourage you to go take that, what was it called? The stress screening, look at the resources. Again, I want people to get help with the issues that they're having. I really do. And I just get frustrated that that doesn't seem to help me a bit. Now, maybe you look at it differently. Please, on Facebook, on the show notes, let me know. Say, well, here's what I got out of it. Maybe you're seeing it in a more positive way than I do. Maybe it's just because I've been doing this for so long. And it's also because what I read in this report, Stress in America 2023, and the name they gave it is A Nation Recovering from Collective Trauma. And I thought, wow, I mean, that's a big deal. So I am going to read a bit to you here. I just read that whole quiz, but I'm going to read a little bit. I might be a tad scattered, but I'm going to try to do the best that I can. It starts with the COVID-19 pandemic, global conflicts, racism, racial injustice, inflation, and climate-related disasters are all weighing on the collective consciousness of Americans. We have a lot going on in the world. I am going to say we always do. I mean, the global pandemic was something I don't think any of us, and I don't know, any of us still alive, have probably experienced. So, going on, the national public health emergency around COVID-19 officially ended on May 11th, 2023. I did not know that, and I'm going to mark that because that'll be something for me to talk about on May 11th, 2023. And while the return to normal, quote, has been celebrated by many, results from the most recent Stress in America survey paint a different picture. Psychologists with the APA say a superficial characterization of day-to-day life being more normal is obscuring the post-traumatic effects that have altered our mental and physical well-being. Skipping a lot, I'm going to go on a little bit. We cannot ignore the fact that we have been significantly changed by the loss of more than 1 million Americans, as well as the shift in our workplaces, school systems, and culture at large. To move toward post-traumatic growth, we must first identify and understand the psychological wounds that remain. To me, that spoke so much more volumes about life and just saying, we have been through a trauma. If you're on YouTube, I'm sorry if my camera is losing focus. It might just be because I'm moving more often. I'll try to be really still. So looking at the fact that we have been through a collective trauma, we've been through a lot with the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, which has been less than a year. Let me read a few more things. When it comes to stress management, many are struggling to cope and are bearing the burden alone. This whole part that I'm about to read you is what's breaking my heart. Around 3 in 5 adults said they don't talk about their stress because they don't want to be a burden to others. And although finances are a top stressor, talking about them is off the table. About half of adults said that only half of adults said they're comfortable talking with others about money, and more than 2 in 5 said they feel embarrassed talking about money with other people. Here we go. Worst part. And this is really what I'm talking about this morning is just, I'm going to be asking you to tell me what it is that you need. And then our next 3 weeks, I want to try to help you. So here's the heartbreaking part. Around 3 in 5 adults said people around them just expect them to get over their stress. Nearly half said they wish they had someone to help them manage their stress. I want to be that person. Some adults, 36%, said they don't know where to start when it comes to managing their stress. And 33% said they feel completely stressed out no matter what they do to manage their stress. In fact, 66% said that in the last 12 months, they could have used more emotional support than they received. And around a quarter cited the need for a lot more support. More than 2 in 5 adults said they don't feel anyone understands what they're going through, and more than half said they wish they had someone to turn to for advice or support. I want to be that person. I really want to be that person. Let me read a couple more things to you. Now, the things in this report talk about rating your stress, right? 1 to 10. The questions ask about categories. Of course, the basic questions ask about age, whether you have children, race, gender, identity, all that. And so they break it down according to some of these categories. And I'm not going to go, you can go look at that. You can compare the questions that they're asking. I mean, you can compare the categories. Discrimination and disparities pervade. But one thing that stood out to me, there we go, was about women versus men. This year, the survey continues to find that women report higher levels of stress than men. They want more support. They're more likely to rate their stress as higher than men in the 8 to 10 category. And they're also more likely to report that they could use more support. A lot of this comes down to money, to family responsibilities, to relationships as key issues in their lives. Gosh, so I read a lot to you. I hope that I wasn't too scattered here and that my flow was fairly decent. What I'm asking you to do in this first part 1 of the 4 parts during Stress Management Month is to take a look at the resources that I'm posting in the show notes. Look at that National Institutes of Health website. Take that survey. And also, I am going to put the Holmes-Ray Social Readjustment Scale in there for you as well. It's also called the stress scale, which I don't love. But what it does is it has I can't remember, 30 or 40 life events. And it could be anything from you took a vacation to you lost a loved one and everything in between. And you take it like once a year because it's asking for things that have happened to you in the past year. And you check the ones that apply to you, and then it gives numbers for each of those and you add those up. Now, what that does is it's a predictor of your likelihood of having, again, quote, stress-related illnesses. I don't love the way necessarily that it's used, but I love the fact that it's looking at your life, right? Just like the questions in the APA study, they're all self-report, and that's the thing that makes this difficult. It's just asking people a question and rating from like 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or whatever it is. And the Holmes-Race scale is very specific. Have you taken on a new job? Have you and then you can read, I'll put the link to it. So I'm encouraging you on this part 1. If this is Stress Awareness Month, well, let's become aware. Look at the NIH website, take the Holmes-Race Social Readjustment Scale, look at your life, look at the Stress in America report, see how that applies to you. And then let me know, where are you? What were your scores? How are you feeling? Are you feeling like, let me go back to the part that just broke my heart about people. Are you one of those adults who feel like people just expect you to get over your stress? Are you one of those who needs help? Are you one of those who doesn't know where to start? Are you one of them that feels stressed out no matter what you do? That's what I want to know. Where are you in life? How do you feel that I can help you with this? Because this is my area. This is what I love to help people with. And I can honestly say that identifying myself as stressed out is not what I do anymore. Do I get anxious? Yes, obviously, I'm in treatment for that right now. Do I worry? Yes. Do I get angry? Do I get mad? Do I get overwhelmed? I get all those things. But the difference in me now, first of all, after 1995 mental hospital stay, and then 2013 finishing my study, the difference in me now versus then is just a different degree of self-awareness and a different set of choices. I don't want you to think that I would be judging you, that I'm saying you should just get over it, that you should just talk differently. I want to know how I can help. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for being here. More than ever, I'm asking you to share this, download, listen, rate, reply, help grow our community, bring other people into our fold. That's what I'm hoping for here. Join me. I've not been very active on social media lately, and I apologize for that. I tend to go through spells. There's just, my father-in-law passed away. We were in California. There's just been a lot of things. No excuses. There's just been a lot of things. But please follow me on one of our social media pages. All of that will be in the show notes. All right. It's with you now. And so until we're together next week, consider yourself hugged.